Shout out to Ring RQ, Julius, you legend. We're going to do a joint interview, yeah? Yeah, we'll do a joint interview, Julius. Thanks for the support. You're a legend. From your girls, Raven and Ellie.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
I just hope Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, Design give us the chance, because Katie wants it, I want it. It's down to them. It's nothing to do with us. Like, we're the fighters. We're the one that's going to prepare. We're the ones that are going to punch each other in the head and like beat each other up. So that's our job. That's our job. What we should do. So we're both under the same promotion, and it's an easy fight to make. Like I said, this fight can be signed, sealed, and delivered in 24 hours. That's how easy it is. It's the easiest fight they can make. And it's a fight that everybody's interested in.
It would be. Perhaps that sentiment might be lost on those here in the United States, here in America. The Serrano contingent of fans, the Baumgartner contingent of fans, those fans that would have preferred that Katie would be sharing the ring with one of them. What they don't realize about this fight is that it essentially entails an English fighter sharing the ring with an Irish fighter. Yeah, I don't think they understand that. Now, England and Ireland as territories both more or less fall under the United Kingdom. It's the kingdom that has been united. That's right. When you hear UK, that's more or less what they're talking about, at least in part. But in the ring, it's more like Puerto Rico versus Mexico. It's more like Mexico versus Argentina. That dichotomy. England versus Ireland in the boxing ring. Yes, you can definitely sell that, especially at this level. These are two of the best in their field, two of the very best in the sport. Katie Taylor. Yep. Chantel Cameron. Yep. Undisputed versus undisputed. It's one of the best fights you can hope to make, and it's been years in the making.
Clear to everyone to see that I want to fight, Katie wants to fight, so there's only one person that can make the fight happen. We're both under his stable, so it's easy. It can be done in 24 hours. It can be signed off today. It's that easy to make.
Chantel Cameron very recently did the rounds with IFL TV and ID Boxing, and she sounded almost worried that Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and DAZN wouldn't want to get behind the fight. I don't see why. Why wouldn't they? It's exactly the way she says it is. It's an in-house fight. They fight under the same banner, on the same platform. Amanda Serrano's injured. There's nothing that can be done about that. Katie Taylor's calling for it. She's the one that wants Chantel. Chantel's wanted her for the longest time, for years now. There's no reason not to make it, and I expect that they will. Katie's 36, going on 37 years old. Time is a luxury she doesn't have. Lose any more months waiting on a specific opponent when Chantel Cameron is a worthy substitute. I said it just the other day. That's the beauty of these weights where Katie Taylor campaigns. You know, from 130, 135 to 140. Think about it. Amanda Serrano, had she gone into this rematch, she would have gone into that rematch a featherweight undisputed champion. We all know what happened. She got injured. There were two other undisputed champions at or around the weight where Katie campaigns, with no prior engagement. Either one that could substitute for Amanda Serrano. That speaks to the depth of these divisions as opposed to what you find north of 154 pounds. The talent pool just ain't that deep. It's not that many fighters to go around. When it comes to this fight, there's no reason to believe that Taylor versus Cameron won't get the exact same reception that Taylor versus Serrano 2 would have got. Because of where it's supposed to be happening. It's supposed to be happening in Katie Taylor's neck of the woods. Katie Taylor, who has spent most of her professional career fighting on the road. As a professional, she's never actually fought in Ireland. This is a homecoming fight. After fighting in England and fighting in America several times. Katie Taylor's coming home. That, in and of itself, irrespective of who she's fighting, who specifically, just that in and of itself is sure to draw a crowd. Tack on a worthy adversary. An undisputed champion. Like Katie's an undisputed champion. Tack on the England versus Ireland dichotomy. And I think they'll do all right with this one. I do. The ingredients are all there. There are no other promotional outfits or other platforms they'd have to deal with to make this one. And for what it's worth, I don't think Chantel Cameron herself drives a hard bargain so hard that the financials of the match might prevent it from happening. I mean, I am expecting that she'd make a career high purse opposite the ring Katie Taylor. Of course. I'm sure she's expecting that as well, but I don't see any reason whatsoever this shouldn't be Katie Taylor's next fight.
Right, well, let's move on. I've got to ask you this, even though I know we've not had much news on it. Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, I know things were sort of in the pipeline. Are things looking positive? Should we just say that?
Well, we're getting to a situation where I'm one way or another we're going to have to make a decision, and then we're not far off of that.
That kind of language. That could mean that they're close to making a fight, or that could mean they're close to walking away from one. The story's been this past week the Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk talks are reportedly still at an impasse with no deal yet. It's claimed there is still hope of a breakthrough for the undisputed heavyweight world title fight on April 29th at Wembley, but the clock is ticking, and it has been ticking all week.
You're talking about a fight for the end of April.
And here we are at the beginning of March. There are approximately 8 weeks, just 8 weeks between now and that proposed April 29th date.
If they're going to do a deal, they need to do it now.
Because ideally, that's what you need to promote a show. At least 8 weeks, a minimum of 8 weeks.
Any less than that, you have to wonder what the hell you're doing.
We've talked about what Tyson Fury's other options are, what they might be if this fight ends up falling apart.
A fourth Wilder fight, a Francis Ngannou crossover fight.
And we've talked about all of that stuff, but what are Usyk's options if the fight falls apart? Who's available to him?
Well, not Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce supposed to be fighting in April opposite the ring Zhilei Zhang, so at least temporarily he's spoken for, but Daniel Dubois isn't.
Joe Joyce, Daniel Dubois, Filip Hrgovic. These are the guys waiting in the queue for a shot at what Alexander Usyk has got. And unless I'm mistaken, the next man in line, the next man in the rotation, the next mandatory challenger would be Daniel Dubois.
Especially if Joe Joyce is fighting in April.
I mean, win or lose in the Zhilei Zhang fight, that does essentially take him out of the running, at least temporarily.
I don't know of any fight they have tabbed for Filip Hrgovic in the near future, though I'm going to assume that they're going to get him out there at some point over the spring or summer months.
That leaves Daniel Dubois. Daniel fought some weeks ago against Kevin Lerena. Looked horrible.
Some weeks later, if things don't work out with Usyk and Fury, he may be the guy that Usyk ends up fighting in what would undoubtedly be a Frank Warren show in the UK.
Yeah, I think so. And based on how Daniel Dubois performed opposite the ring, a cruiserweight who had moved up in weight, the same way that Usyk is a cruiserweight who moved up in weight, a southpaw, like Usyk's a southpaw.
That's what Kevin Lerena was.
Bear in mind that Kevin Lerena is no Alexander Usyk, but those are two things they have in common. Based on how Daniel looked against that guy, I don't give him much of a shot opposite the ring Alexander Usyk. I mean, I am confident that if things with Fury fall apart, and that ends up being Alexander Usyk's next fight, he should make it through that guy.
He should.
There's the fallout of Fury versus Usyk. That fight's collapse to also contend with. I mean, when is enough enough?
Those guys who have made it their job to constantly defend Tyson Fury.
No matter what he says, no matter what he does, no matter how many issues arise. I mean, this guy's got issues in most every single set of negotiations for every single fight he's in. If this one falls apart,
Usyk's not a hard guy to deal with. Usyk don't have these kind of issues when it's time to make a fight.
Fury does. And if this fight falls apart, will that be the straw that breaks the camel's back?
For the boxing scene in the United Kingdom, or at least most of it, most of those fight fans finally say, this is Fury's fault.
It has to be, because Usyk never has these kind of problems. This is all supposed to be because the Usyk people want a 50-50 split.
Fury wants the lion's share.
Because he feels he's the bigger name in the United Kingdom. But what they're leaving out is that you guys ended up moving the fight from Saudi over to the UK after Usyk already accepted his side of the deal. Moving the fight from Saudi over to the UK costed him a lot of money.
Are you going to compensate him for that or not?
And all of these mental gymnastics, the onus to do the fight being laid at the feet of Usyk, when what you really ought to ask yourself is, does Fury want this fight?
Maybe you can play these games when it comes to other fighters, but not this guy.
Doesn't go over quite as smoothly with this guy, and I thought Fury was the guy who didn't care about money.
Didn't he say he'd fight Anthony Joshua for free?
And didn't he say that he doesn't care about money? That he's not a businessman? He's a Spartan. If that's true, you're about to let this fight fall apart over what?
Over money. That's what.
I hope it doesn't, but if they're at an impasse, that's why. That's what it's over. It's over money, because Tyson Fury wants most of the money.
What happened to the Spartan?
After you done costed this guy money.
He's a fucking charlatan. He's a shyster.
So's his father and his little brother.
His brother Tommy Fury.
Very recently spoke on the purse bet that they had ahead of their fight last weekend. At the end of the day, we were live on TV and we shook hands. We're old-fashioned guys, so a handshake means everything to us, but let's see if he honors it or not. A handshake is as good as a contract to us.
But not to everyone else.
Even worse is that there is a video ahead of the fight that took place last weekend where they're asking Big John Fury to sign the contract.
At minimum, they were asking him about it, and he wasn't none too pleased.
I mean, they hadn't signed it. That's the gist of it. John Fury, he didn't want to talk about it, so that after the fact...
Now what you want is for Jake Paul to quote-unquote honor the bet when you didn't want to sign the contract. Rather, your son.
I'm telling you, if anybody got exposed last weekend, it wasn't Jake Paul. It was Tommy Fury.
And now look what he's talking about.
Do you think he's talking about resuming his very serious professional boxing career? Do you think he's talking about winning an area title, a British Commonwealth title, an EBU title, or subsequently a world title? No.
He's talking about a Jake Paul rematch.
Jake Paul, who is currently mulling his options, has the ability to exercise an immediate rematch clause, and Fury is more than ready to have a second fight with his rival. The rematch is something that I'm definitely wanting because I believe in the rematch. I will stop him. You know, in the first fight, I've never been 8 rounds before, so you're just a bit weary of what's in your tank and how the fight is going to go. But now that I've been in the ring with him once, I know what to expect. Fury told Good Morning Britain. Tommy Fury's older brother, WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury, wants to see his brother have a rematch with Paul or face his older brother, Logan Paul.
Do you see what I mean?
Now, for what it's worth, the feeling is mutual. Where Tyson Fury wants his brother to fight Logan, Logan wants to fight Tommy.
Goes both ways.
But this is what I was talking about. Where Tommy Fury was supposed to be the serious professional, the serious pugilist, head and shoulders above Jake Paul, what we're finding out more and more is that he isn't.
He's just trying to ride his wave, the wave that he created.
The lane, I should say, and the avenue for social media influencers and celebrities to lace the gloves up and swap punches with each other. That's what Tommy wants to be a part of. That's what Tommy wants to do.
Tommy didn't establish in that fight that he's too good a boxer for a social media influencer to share the ring with him because he got sat on his back pocket.
Jake dropped Tommy Fury, went the distance with him, and at no point in that fight did I feel that Jake Paul don't belong in the ring with this guy. It was Regis Prograis who said it best. If you didn't know who was who, just looking at the fight, you wouldn't be able to tell who's the social media influencer and who the boxer is.
The quote-unquote serious boxer, because they both look equal.
You know what the point of the fight was supposed to be? The point of the fight was that Tommy was going to expose Jake Paul and expose that he doesn't belong in the same ring with him. Well, he didn't do that.
Now look, yet another social media influencer is calling him out. One that goes by the name Salt Poppy. I'm sure you've heard of him.
One of the few social media influencers out there who's actually shown genuine fighting skill, genuine fighting ability, and knockout power. He wants to share the ring with Tommy Fury.
So a week after the Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul showdown, in light of all of this, do you get the sense that Tommy Fury really outclassed Jake Paul?
After getting dropped by him and winning a split decision. A split decision!
As stated, if anybody got exposed last weekend, it wasn't Jake. It was Tommy.
And finally, just in keeping with the theme of the exhibition circuit,
That's circus.
Floyd Mayweather reacts to lower than expected turnout at the O2 Arena. For those not already aware, Floyd Mayweather was in action yet again last weekend.
Against a little-known guy named Chalmers?
This past Saturday night, 5-division world champion Floyd Mayweather made his debut in the UK. The retired fighter took part in another exhibition bout, which saw him easily outbox MMA fighter and reality TV star Aaron Chambers. Over 8 rounds, there were no judges and no decision was announced. The bout headlined a pay-per-view event at the O2 Arena in London.
Now, who do you think bought this thing? Certainly not boxing fans.
Boxing fans don't have the foggiest fucking idea who the hell Aaron Chambers is. And when it comes to Floyd, they used to pay to see Floyd fight other high-level boxers, not dancing bears and reality TV stars.
This pay-per-view wasn't staged on any of the major networks in the United Kingdom. It wasn't on BT. It wasn't on Sky.
As far as last weekend's fights and fights that ended up at the box office last weekend, well, I'm pretty sure Paul versus Fury was more talked about than this.
Pretty sure.
During the show, numerous fans took notice and posted photos on social media of empty sections in the venue. In the days leading up to the fight, tickets were discounted as the event failed to generate the type of interest that the organizers had expected. Mayweather explained that there were good reasons for the lower than expected turnout. We did this in 1 month, not even 4 weeks. I think the tickets should have went on sale a lot faster. My team is still learning.
His new team.
I wonder what happened to his old one. I have got to take my hat off to them. It's not their fault. It's just when we fight in the US, as soon as we announce the fight, tickets are on sale.
Floyd hasn't held one of these exhibition things in the United States since the Logan Paul exhibition match.
Yeah, we announced the fight, and the tickets didn't go on sale until a week or 2 weeks later. I don't point fingers. We work together as a team. When you buy your tickets over here, you don't really want to spend money. In America, we don't mind spending money.
Yeah. You could have did this same fight in America with that same guy on that same notice, and it still wouldn't have sold because nobody wants to see this shit.
Nobody. And there wasn't anything of substance on the undercard like what we saw on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. We saw a cruiserweight title fight between then champion Lunga Makabu and former champion Badu Jack.
Mayweather versus Chalmers didn't have anything of substance on the undercard. It was just a lot of garbage.
And as stated, the last time Floyd Mayweather staged one of these exhibition things in the United States was the Logan Paul exhibition match. He has seen action 2-3 times since then.
The one with his old sparring partner in the Middle East, Dangerous Don Moore, the exhibition match that he had in Japan, and this exhibition match in the United Kingdom with Aaron Chalmers.
An event that took place on a substantially smaller scale than you would have expected from the likes of a Floyd Mayweather and a fighter with that stature, what stature he used to have.
The distributor of the pay-per-view was supposed to be some fledgling platform over there called Zeus.
Not one of the major ones like Sky or BT. The distributor of the pay-per-view was a platform called Zeus, and I'm just wondering, what kind of money does Zeus have to play with?
Because Floyd Mayweather claims he makes approximately $300 million a month. $300 million on investments.
And that rounds out to roughly $3.6 billion a year.
You're making $300 million a month and $3.6 billion a year so that you can lend your celebrity to fledgling platforms like Zeus.
For a small-scale show, a small-scale event that didn't sell out.
Okay, man, whatever you say.
It just doesn't make sense that a guy who's making approximately $300 million a month would get out of bed for any amount of money that Zeus has to offer him.
Because how much money would it take to get a guy like that out of bed to participate in your show, your event?
And immediately after it, there were already talks about Floyd Mayweather staging yet another exhibition match opposite the ring MMA legend Jose Aldo.
Another one?
He's staging these events in sequence, one after the other, in succession.
Keeps saying he's doing it for fun, but is he?
Is he really? Because the frequency of these events has given rise to the notion that Floyd is strapped for cash, and the overhead of his lavish lifestyle is starting to catch up to him. Now, he's just trying to keep his head above water.
That's what some people seem to think, and I can't say as I blame them.
Though, irrespective of whether or not Floyd's strapped for cash, we really don't know. One thing I do know is nobody's interested in seeing him share the ring with the likes of an Aaron Chalmers.
That I can tell you.